There's my mom in Docomo. I'm not allowed to go into their office cubicle because I was asked yesterday. So we are here at Agaña Shopping Center. It is now about 10:51, and I don't know. They just chased me away without telling me why. So my mom is having difficulties with the cable. And so, Senior Citizens Month is coming up. And they have promotion taking place all over because of the raise to the COLA. So I'm at GuamPDN.com, and I heard that their machine was down. So for a while, I don't know if they have their actual papers out in your newspaper stands. So we're just here, and it is February 7th, and it's about 10:52 a.m. So I think it's important to document these moments because between inflation, which is set already at about 8% or something like that, the COLA, cost of living allowance, has gone up for senior citizens. And the Attorney General of Guam, as well as the Guam Bar Association, really needs to pay attention to the cost of living, and then, of course, the jacking up of prices in businesses, the issue with the multi-trillion-dollar debt and debt ceilings, and the $5 in between the SNAP recipients, the cost of living, and it's about a $33 for per individual. Now it was 38, and they dropped it down, I guess. So in between the $38 and the $33 is $5. Okay, got 5 on it. So there's an issue that's affecting us when it comes to Singaporean gas happening right now. I won't go into the details as to what's going on, but Guam does not have a natural resource, right? And so in the process of going online, let's say for education or social distancing, I'm going to put on my mask now. Private business, this one doesn't allow anyone without a mask. This one allows people with masks. So just to be safe, then sorry, and sorry rather than safe. The cost of living allowance on Guam is that we don't have natural resources. That natural resources is imported to our island. And with all of the issues of Trans-Pacific, issues, the issues of territorial integrity and sovereignty regarding nations. So everyone's kind of on high alert these days, and so they're asking some customers to come back because nobody's buying gas, maybe at their gas station. So it's very good to understand. We also, in another news report, shows that about 43% of our island residents, out of 168,000 people, are again going to be affected by the impending, you know, issues with regards to Trans-Pacific economic insecurity. And so we need to forecast these things in the coming months, perhaps in June or July, down the road here in Agaña Shopping Center. So if I were to ask permission from Senator Sabina Perez, who owns this land, I don't know if they sold it or they're leasing it or whatnot, but, you know, where's our money too? None? Oh, why? So after World War II, we all started the same, you know. Chamorros, some Filipinos were here, some Spaniards, some American, one really U.S. citizen. And we all started the same. We all started, there was about 800, somebody saying there's 1,000 survivors after World War II. And the issue is one of, why is it that only some Chamorro families are very rich and wealthy and millionaires and billionaires and trillionaires, while so many other Chamorros on the Guam are very poor now, economically. Every cent counts. And so the issue and the disparity between the two is growing ever quickly. So I would suggest that the local government on Guam really, you know, start from the ground up. Just like putting your power lines after World War II underneath the ground, so that way you have a perfect infrastructure to build, you know, a hydro train system on the island, on top of climate change. So the issue is one of the haves and the have-nots. And also to suggest to the Guam legislature to start feeding its own people, and, you know, take care of, you know, local SSI, which is the supplemental security income for caregivers. That hasn't been addressed. So the issue is one of, you know, here's the situation, is that people can't pay for property taxes. So you're getting it from the GRT. The GRT is what, at 5%, 6%, 7%, 8%, 9%, 10%? What is the cost factor, you know, cost to benefit analysis with regards to that? So again, you're trying to implement a 22% increase to, you know, across the board pay, when everybody's supposed to go back down to a living wage, minimum wage, in the government of Guam, so that you can create these programs like supplemental security income, supplemental security, you know, disability income for people who are caregivers, so that they have an actual income coming in and not have to rely on their, you know, federal counterparts if you can't solve the problem. So if you can't solve the problem, then why are you even in business? You know? So the issue is one of not even controlling immigration, right? And that issue is near and dear our heart. And this is the first time to come out. I'm not vaccinated, and I refuse to be vaccinated. Vaccines, you know, I asked this private business next door, how much is your test? It's $135, $35 or whatever. Do you have vaccines? No, we don't do vaccines. Down the road, they have COVID-19 testing. But how old are these? You know, are we still testing for coronavirus? Or is that test, you know, for the BA, whatever, COVID-19 subvariant Omicron? You see, these are questions that you had oversight hearing just last week on public health. And for some reason or not, a business today can discriminate, you know, if a person is not wearing a mask. And it's, you know, very stated in there. So if I go and contact trace over here at this place that doesn't have a mask requirement, this other site has a mask requirement, what are you doing to implement a social policy, right, when it comes to business privilege taxes, okay, as well as the other capturing of, you know, let's say, qualifying certificates, you know. And does this business have a qualifying certificate versus that other business that doesn't have a qualifying certificate, right? So nowadays we're dealing with you don't know, and that is the norm. But again, we are creating benchmarks for progress, not deficit, because we're headed for a deficit, right? Everybody is this fictitious. We have surplus, okay? But if you don't, why you're going to build a hospital, right? You just had this public hearing on this land thing, hospital, brand new hospital. If you can't take care of your own people with health insurance. Another issue is, all of the health insurances on Guam are supposed to cover those who are not covered, right? So there's a certain percentage. It's just like your chief bargaining agreement, right, with a union. A certain percentage, if you fall under, let's say, support staff and you're not a union member, and you have an issue or a grievance with your filing of, then a certain percentage of support staff is supposed to be represented under that chief bargaining agreement. So what we saw, in Congress about this union, for 5 years, the next 5 years, they have, but what about other unions? You see? So it's one of what is the cost and what is the benefit for us to partake in these kinds of issues if you don't provide health insurance. And you're only relying on the universal, health care system called Medicaid or Medicare to cover Chamorros who have been historically subjugated, exploited, and above all, just totally decimated. And the bringing in of new immigrants to the island, and then Chamorros have to sell their land just to pay for power and water, So you didn't create a universal lifeline, as other 50 contiguous states. And it really is about shifting the government of Guam's budget, making sure everybody just has it's called a flat tax, as well as, they say, GRT is a flat tax. It's not a flat tax because it fluctuates with the CCU and the PCU, Public, Utilities Corporations, PUC. It fluctuates. So, everybody in the government of Guam is supposed to go back to the minimum wage. They did this in the 30th Guam legislature. I don't know if it's implemented yet. But everybody's supposed to even the directors and your executive directors are supposed to pay, and then across the board provide for those 43,000 families who are affected today. You have not provided an understanding of how you're going to take care of your people when you just want to go and build, and then there's nobody that's going to be working at the new hospital, okay? Nobody wants to work there. Nobody wants to work at Guam Memorial Hospital. So, you really need to assess that whole situation, especially if we're not going to pay taxes. So looking at it from the perspective of the legislature, which is supposed to, handle the checkbook of the government, it's not doing that. It's your priority is someplace else, and it's like, okay, well, you go to work and you don't even check your email. You don't even respond to your email. You don't even respond, and usually the rule is 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks. So if you don't respond in 2 weeks, that's the unsaid rule, so to speak. Then what the hell are you doing and your staff doing, your unclassified people doing? It's so schizophrenic the way government and business is functioning these days. And there really needs to be a serious conversation on our island community about providing, because guess what? All of these benefits can be taken away with a swipe of a pen. Keep going back to that. Swipe of a pen, and then, here we are. They lowered. It's going to get lower. Okay, come June, all your food stamps, all your Section 8, it's going to go lower, because the local government is supposed to pay their fair share. This is 80-20. The federal government 80, local government 20. Now it's going to be Local government has to pay 80%, and the federal government is 20%. It's a whole switch around. And our people are not educated yet about the coming, how is the ramification of the debt ceiling going to affect families. And we really need to take a look at that because, economic forecast is all turbulent. So I suppose that if we're going to go green, then we really need to make sure that have our checks and balances. Now we're seeing not wanting to do so. So I have what is it called? Why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because I am a Chamorro, Pacific Islander, born in the States. And, these are, things that are beyond my control, but as somebody who's studying policy on a daily basis and trying to implement these kinds of rules and regulations, more people, maybe now it's about 90,000 that are going to be there's going to be massive layoffs around the island of Guam. You know that. You can't rely on the 90,000 to help the 70,000 because now the 90,000 will be the ones in, major poverty, major homelessness, major starvation. So I really want to make sure that the senators understand that's Democrat, it's working poor, grassroots, but yet you're not wanting to help the people by revoking your salary back down to minimum wage. If more people were on the minimum wage right now on the island of Guam, of the income coming in, that is one way to solve the problem of poverty. And that poverty issue is ever creeping. You're just one paycheck away. Right? There's no middle class anymore on Guam. There's no middle class. So if there's no middle class on the island of Guam, you either have very rich and very poor. And the very poor is growing, and there's going to be more crime because you're not providing for our people. Why am I here in a business establishment? I'm here in a business establishment because it's important to get this message out. I am very upset, still to this very day, and still protesting the issues of inequality and the issue of slavery and how we have inherited as an island community about that issue and has not been rectified nor alleviated in any way. And I'm taking a good chance, right? By being out here in public, not wearing my mask. Why? Because this business doesn't want, right? Private can't stop big business, right? But this business on my right doesn't have a mask requirement. This business on my left has a mask requirement. Down the hole, you have paying rent. The government is paying rent to Senator Sabrina Paris, you know what I mean? And her family. It's a conflict of interest. And, long story short, relish your time that you have left. For all of us are just finite. But support our people, you rich and wealthy people on the island. You're hoarding all the wealth. Again, we're going back to World War II, the story of the war. We all started the same. How come you have more than me today and your descendants? 1945, 1950. How come you have more today, you rich and wealthy Chamorros, Guamanians, right? How come you have more and we have very less? We're the silent majority. We don't want to choose to participate in your democracy as a registered voter because nobody's fighting for us on the decolonization registry today. Do you understand that? Do you understand the ramification of war crimes going along with it? We don't go along with it. And we're teaching others and mentoring others not to go along with it. There's my mama. Say hi, Mom. How was your visit at your... Oh, it's a video. See you later.
Can I go in there? They already functioning.
Yeah, exactly, Ma. Why? How come I can't go in there?
I don't know. I didn't ask.
I don't know. I didn't ask. Okay, take care. Every cent counts.